Right. Thank you for staying with your world this morning. We want to shift gears a bit and talk about some things that matters most to you, and that is knowing your worth. Do you know your worth? Picture this. You are an unemployed person. You've been looking for a job for a while, and this company X has offered you a job. But before they bring you in, they ask you, how much do you want us to pay you? So what do you say? You don't want to lose the job on one side, but you also want to be compensated well. Scenario number 2, you have been doing well for company X, and then company Y notices that you are very brilliant. They want to have you and their team, and they ask you to come and join us for this similar responsibilities or even added. And they ask you, how much do you want us to pay you? Last scenario. You have a main hustle that you do, and then there's a side hustle, a side gig, a one-day's gig, a consultancy job that you need to do for someone for a day. But your skill is very much important. It's scarce in the market, and they ask you, okay, how much are you going to charge us for this job? And you, just like I, sometimes don't know what to say. And that's what we want to talk about this morning with my guest, Alfred Arita. This man is everything. He's a life coach, a motivational speaker, an author. He has his books right here in the studio with us. Good morning, Alfred. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Victor. Good morning. All right. And also joining us this morning, Esther Kazungu, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, we're to Tupa, eh?
You keep saying that, by the way. It's like a quite
Can we say that you're a friend of the show?
I'm a friend.
All right. Super. Maybe we should start here, guys. And maybe let's actually include everyone in this discussion. Maybe if you're watching at home, if you're streaming this on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere, do you actually know how to measure the value you bring when you're negotiating your salary or invoicing for your business? That's the question we ask you this morning, because we want you to be part of this conversation and walk this journey with us. Twitter's at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop _ use the hashtag new normal so that we can see all the tweets that you send us. You could also follow the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you're not on social media, you surely have a mobile phone, and you can call in on the number that should be below your screen in a short while. Guys, let's start here. No one will ever pay you what you are worth. They will only pay you what they think you're worth. Let me start with you, Alfred.
Yeah, that's very true. First, I want to say thank you so much for having us here this morning to, this is a very important discussion. And we are coming to discuss this at a time when the pandemic has affected so much. Mm-hmm. People have lost jobs, and business has been affected. And therefore, there's a lot of now, beginning afresh to look for jobs, and to begin, rebuild your business again. Mm-hmm. So I want to agree with the one who made that assertion that no one will ever pay you for what you truly deserve, mm-hmm. for who you really are. Mm-hmm. People pay you how they perceive you. Mm-hmm. Everywhere, people will always ask you the question, how much do you want us to pay you? It's a common question in every organization. But it all depends on you, your intrinsic value, how you believe what you bring to the market. Mm-hmm. That you seek to persuade them to change their view and their perception, mm-hmm. so that they pay you what you deserve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Esther, mm-hmm. They will only pay you.
But okay, yeah, it's true. It's actually true, because even generally when creatives start out, yeah. Like speaking from that perspective, no one, they test the waters, mm-hmm. with you. They will say, let's give you free products and, mm-hmm. see if you will actually accept it. So yeah. If you accept it, that's how they're going to carry you along, and that's the word that's going to go around. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying the other time, mm-hmm. The agencies talk, the agencies that scout influencers, mm-hmm. they talk within themselves. So if I one time accept a gig that was...
They're like, Esther does it for free.
Exactly, exactly. That's the word that's going to go around, and mm-hmm. That's how they're going to... It's going to take so much for me to actually convince them that I am worth more.
Have you been in a situation before where, yes, you have done the job, you've been paid X amount, but you feel they should have paid me more?
Not even the paying. Mm-hmm. I've been in a situation where I thought those free products were enough. And then in retrospect, looking mm-hmm. back at that whole campaign and whole engagement, I believe I was worth so much more, because I did so much. Mm-hmm. I did so much, yeah. So even not even just the paying gigs, even the product. There's a time I thought I am worth this product and it's okay, and now I have a totally different mindset.
And that brings me to the two issues in this conversation, which is one, defining and measuring the value that you bring in, which is number one, very important, knowing this is how much I'm worth. And number two, communicating it, because you might know that, you know, I'm worth this amount, but you don't communicate, you don't look confident, you don't look like that person we should pay that amount. So, and I think this is important even as we get into the discussion, Alfred. This is important because if you look around companies, people will tell you that they have gone for interviews, they have quoted this amount, and because they were not able to negotiate very well, let's talk about 1 million shillings. So you negotiate for this deal, your salary, and you're paid 1 million shillings. And they're like, okay, all right, fine, we'll pay you that. And then, and during the negotiations, where it's going to be very stiff, and they'll tell you we don't have money and all that. And then immediately you get into the company, you realize someone doing the same job, or the last person who did your job, was paid 2 million shillings. Yeah.
Well, you see, one of the things that I keep telling my friends and my clients, it's upon you to know who you really are. It's upon you to know your uniqueness, what you bring to the market. You're the one who knows what you can do well, all right? Because, you know, a lot of people really end up getting paid very little. I work for different organizations. And one of the things that we do after we have agreed on the dates and everything else, the next question becomes, how much are you expecting? You know,
and all of a sudden you lose.
You know, you are discussing very nicely. Are you available on this date? Can you come and do this?
Yeah.
We have a workshop.
And then that question comes.
So the question comes, but okay, one more question. How much do you expect us to pay you? And it's always a hard question. Yet you must face it. That's where the...
Esther, can we talk about how confusing that... You can literally prepare the whole day. I am going to quote this amount. I am telling them for this MC gig or for this gig, I'm going to charge them this amount for 1 hour. But when the question comes, you sort of just lose it.
I don't know what happens, by the way. I don't know what happens. Because at the same time, you're trying to impress them. You're trying to show them, I'm not going to be stubborn. I won't disturb you much. So you're trying to find the balance. Like, how do I tell you my worth, and how do I convince you? And at the same time, I don't want to quote something that's, you know, it's not reasonable.
Unrealistic.
So that's what's confusing, because now it's you calculating in your mind. So this or that.
So maybe even before, because for Esther, maybe she knows this is how much she's worth. But let's start with someone who doesn't even know. How do I even know how much I'm worth?
That's for sure. And also the other confusing bit is, how much budget do they have for this kind of a job, you know? But then again, as I keep saying, no one knows how much an organization has. It's you to know what you think you deserve. That's very important. Because at the end of the day, they will not pay you what they don't have, all right? So they will tell you, this is what we have. And I'll tell you from my experience. Many times we discuss on a particular fee and we agree. Usually I will quote higher. That's what I've learned to do. Usually I will quote higher. Then they negotiate downwards. As opposed to quoting less. You know, most people will say, you know, I fear I may lose this job, so I just want to quote something.
And it's a valid concern, come on.
It is, but then I think people need to learn to appreciate that you're not just coming to spend your time and give your skills for free. And you need to have the guts to say, well, I think for that one day, this is how I usually do it. I work for similar organizations, and I think when I've done this, when I block my day, this is how much I get. Then you might hear like, whoa, we don't have that kind of a budget. Then now you can almost gauge to know where their budgets are.
And the fear is, because you've mentioned the issue of COVID-19, we don't have jobs, man. We lost jobs. We're hungry. Or you're a creative. There's no constant salary that is coming in at the end of the month. That means this very same amount that you're about to make on the 7th of June could as well be the only amount you make this month. And you don't want to jeopardize this because babu wewe ni mlafi.
It's always a tricky thing, really. But again, as we say, sometimes if you set a precedent, you know what happens? Esther will tell you, the moment you say I'm going to take 50,000 shillings, what happens is those referrals that come from this particular gig or engagement will mean a lot for your future. So sometimes you may want to say, I better stick to this. So when they refer me elsewhere, That's what they will say. You understand this? So I don't encourage you looking at this particular job and miss many more jobs that are supposed to be following. However, you need to be very careful. You know, for example, if they say we will give you 100,000, if you ask for 100,000, they say, well, we don't have that 100,000. Do you mind 50? Then you look at yourself, you look at your situation, you file, this is something. You say, honestly, I don't do that. The only reason I may want to come and take that is because the way you have talked to me or the way you approached me and the ones who referred you to me. But I want you to know that's not my value.
Okay, so that it doesn't become a precedent.
It doesn't become a precedent.
But you know, for me, actually, I even have a story.
Yeah.
When I was starting out, not starting out content creation, but when I was going to my first job, I quoted something so low. So low. I hadn't done my research. It's important also to do your research. I didn't do my research, to see how much people with that particular job, I don't want to say it, have to, get paid. So I didn't do my research, and I went and quoted something so low. And I'm glad the person who interviewed me then left. So after that, I did my research, and then I went back. The second interview I did, I actually came back with some information. But other than that, it's so tricky when you're from school. You just want that fast push. And I was from school. You just want, you know, and you're thinking. I think it's also important to teach people that don't look at, when you're going to a job, you go as yourself. Don't say, as because I live with my parents, I can afford. Just go as yourself, as if you want to start your own family, move out and everything. And I feel like that's very important to also gauge how much you can value yourself.
But Esther, we have a very small budget issue, and we might not be able to pay you for this gig, but it will be good for your exposure.
That one. I think the only person who can offer good exposure is Beyonce. So
I'll say something, Esther. You know, sometimes you look at this particular job. There are jobs that are strategic. That means that they can easily open other jobs. All right. You may not see the value of the money they give you at that particular time. Okay. But if you look at the subsequent jobs that may come, you want to take it. But of course, don't quote so little. But if they say, Esther, you know, you have just come from school, we are giving you a platform. I'll tell you how I began out. My first time to go and speak to principals, they were from a particular county. They told me, hey, these are 200 principals. You are a mentor to schools and you speak to students. These are 200 guys. If you persuade them that you have what it takes, you can be sure there's going to be a lot of jobs, a lot of calls. But we're going to give you fuel and some little money. Then I said, honestly, that is very little. But because of the nature of the meeting, I'll take it. I took it. And when I went there and I spoke, those guys fell in love with me. In fact, there and then, I got about 15 engagements. Say, give me this date, give me the. So what I ended up getting in that particular meeting was much more than what they would have paid me. So if I declined the offer, I would have lost so much more. And then, you know, of course, now from there, other guys will refer and say, we know this guy who can do this. So I think there is a way in which you need to know the nature of the job. If it is a strategic job.
There's some that you can take.
Yeah, you can take. You can take, because you're looking at the future, not the very job they have called you for.
Esther, have you found yourself where you have sacrificed this for the future goal that you...
Yes, because there are some brands, they will look very good on my CV. And so whatever they offered, even if, I think even then I thought it was a lot for where I was. Because I was starting out, especially since I paused in 2018 and 2019. So coming back to the industry and content creation, I was glad that someone was trusting me to do this after such a long period of being inactive. And so, plus it was such a good brand, an international brand, there's no way I would pass up that opportunity. And it's definitely opened more other doors,
Okay, right. We have to take a very quick break, but when we come back, now that somehow Alfred has helped you define in a rough idea your value, how do you then communicate it? Because that also matters. After this quick break. Thank you for staying with your world this morning. We are talking about knowing your worth when you're negotiating a business deal, when you're negotiating for a salary increment, when you're negotiating for a salary in your new job. How do you do it? How do you go about it? How do you define the value that you bring to a company? And once you defined it, then how do you communicate? How do you be as confident as you can to make sure that indeed your face shows that you're indeed worth the amount that you're quoting on paper? Esther Kazungu is still with me, as well as Alfred Arita, as we pick up this conversation. Esther, I'll allow you to ask this question right to Alfred.
Okay, so my question is, you've worked for this company for, let's say, a certain number of years, and you feel like what you offer is more. When you started out, let's take my example for I didn't research, and I didn't know how much it will take, how many hours they will take from me. And so I've worked a couple of years and I want a salary increment. How do I negotiate? And how do I show that I am worth this increment?
Great. So that's a very important question. You know, most people work in the same place, same class for a very long time, and they don't see a problem with it. And you hear them arguing, you know, I'm better off to have a job, you know, other people don't have a job. You see, that's where we go wrong. But I think as you work in that company, you will be doing your, you know, your background check. You'll be knowing guys on your level, how are they earning? Those who are above you, how are they earning? What are the criteria? What is the criteria of them, you know, promoting you? When you feel you have given your best and you feel there is no return on investment, you need to begin to have that conversation with your HR or whatever. Say, well, I feel, but you must be careful because you know people lose jobs. We have companies that are ruthless. You know, the moment you begin to feel like you want increase, that's it. I remember when I began working as a young missionary many years ago. We parted ways with my senior because of that. So I said, I've worked here for a very long time. I've been working very hard. And I feel what you're giving me is not enough. And they said, okay, if you think this is not enough, there is the door. And trust me, that's what I did. I took the door. Yeah, I took the door.
But how do you see, you can only do that if you have what we call the privilege. You can afford to resign. But there are people who think, yes, I know this is my value. Yes, I know this is how much I should be compensated.
That's where I'm coming.
But they have said, walk out of that door. Where do you go?
Where do you go? So I wanted to just give you, that was a bit radical for me because I walked out and luckily for me, actually, I moved from there to a job that was 10 times what I used to earn.
Okay.
And then I shared the story with them. But here is the point. You need to be bold. You need to be bold, Lester. Once you know your worth, you know what you bring, you know your skill sets, you know your experience, you know your uniqueness, you know the difference you can make in the organization, then all these things, you know, this is an arsenal with you that you can bring in the most humble manner to whoever is in charge and say, hey, I think looking at the life we are in, the economy and everything, and what you've been giving me and what I give here, I wanted to make, you think you need to have had a coach or someone who can help you to know how to do it. Then you can now place either a formal request or a one-on-one and say, is it possible if you could consider a pay rise? You know, there's a way people will have known your value and what you do in the organization. The most unfortunate bit is where you find people who just want to say, tunataka mshahara iongezwe, but there's nothing they are doing. Even, in fact, if you make a mistake of saying we need a pay rise, that may be the beginning of your trouble.
And actually, let me just read this. There's yet another quote. I can't remember I picked from who, but it was, you don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring in the hour.
Yes. You don't get paid for the hours you work, but for the value you bring. That's why one guy will work for 30 days and 30,000 shillings. Another guy works for 1 hour and 30,000 shillings. The difference is the organization knows the value. A consultant will come and advise you, tell you, go do this, fix this, and then he gets away with his check, just like that. Than those who work there daily. So what you need to do, I think, is important to know where you are in the organization, know what you have done, and know the name you have at that particular time. Then make the request. Okay,
let me give you yet another challenge because, so I assume Esther here is a software engineer and she works for what's the biggest company? Let's say one of those big boys in the market. You work for Google and then, you know, you ask Google for a pay rise. They're like, you know, we can't give you a pay rise now, it's COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. And then the next day, immediately they poach the biggest names from Facebook and Twitter.
That one.
And they're coming to do literally the same job that you're doing. And you wonder, I thought you guys said you don't have money.
That's my personal story, please. You're hitting. You're hitting.
You know what I would say, that Esther, it happens a lot. Even in your very same place where you work here, it happens. You know, the thing is, I think you need to not fight so much. One of the things about knowing your self-worth, Victor, it helps you not to compete with everyone else. You know, there are guys who may come just after you and earn more. What matters is how the organization perceives the value they bring. So if you keep saying, you know, I've been here for a very long time, we see those things in different ways all the time. Guys have just come and they're earning this. I think you need to invest in building yourself, building your worth, developing it to a level where you have the muscle to say, hey, I think the guy you bring here doesn't bring in anything better than what I've been given. But before you can make that conversation, you need to be sure of what you are. We have seen guys, we have seen big brands moving from place to place, and wherever they move with their followers and everything else. They have built it. You need to be sure that you are in that place where you can make that. Otherwise, most people lose jobs because they will tell you, you know, there are people, the company will feel nothing by just releasing you. They will not miss. But there are people, if they say, hey, today I'm working out.
They're like, oh, no,
the manager will say, please, no, what can we do for you? I mean, because they know if this guy moves, we will go down to zero.
But sometimes still with that, because you said, if you say I'm moving, they're like, oh, no, what can we do? And that points to me something about, it's like there's no system of, you know, recognizing the value that I bring and compensating the value that you bring, so that it has to, your value only increases and your compensation only increases once you threaten to walk out. Do you think that is, in 2021, it's a valid basis?
No, really. Ideally,
I mean, there are people like you who are confident that I am going to suffer for 30 days, but definitely I'm going to farm somewhere else. But there are people who are not built like you, so definitely they are going to suffer in silence. Take something that is not worth the value they bring, because I mean they are not built like that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, unfortunately, most of our systems, most of our organizations that they are right now, that is the game. That's how they, you know. Let's use soccer for example. Let's use soccer,
going to Man City tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. If you hear one player playing in the same team, how much they earn, you'll be shocked. That's when you know value is different. A guy is brought from another place. Almost the same week when they said the company is running on a very low budget, there's no money. And then they poach another guy. You hear how much is paid, you wonder, is this company real? The thing is, no one should feel like the company owes them anything. It's up to you to up your worth. Up your worth. So that even you, if you move from this particular company, go to another place, you will earn much more, like the same guys who have come from outside.
Okay. Esther, briefly, just before we move on, that issue of the system that we use to communicate our value and some bit of threat.
I think it's actually so sad, because now our stories are so similar. I did the same thing. I was in formal employment. I asked for a salary increment because first of all, economy, the economy is hard, man. And then, so we went back and forth. They had actually promised me, to be honest, they had actually promised me that I'll get the increase, but now COVID. Everything was just COVID, you know, COVID. COVID was being thrown everywhere. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And I went.
Okay.
And here I am today. So it was,
okay.
But it's so sad. Yeah, exactly. It's so sad that it has to come to
that point.
To that point. Like it's,
because at some point you still really want to work for that company.
Exactly.
Genuinely.
And then I was being given the reasons you were saying now, so-and-so has been here for longer. And I was like, no, but this longer and my worth, where do they meet here?
Okay.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the mistakes, guys, briefly. Because there are people who know their worth. So you know, me, I'm going for that gig and I'm asking for, let's say, 500,000 shillings for that MC gig or for whatever. If you're fixing a telecom system or an IT system, 500,000 shillings. You know that's what you want. But the problem comes in because you don't know how to communicate and you're a bit shy. You know, there's a way you, first of all, when you're trying to communicate, when you say 500,000 shillings, they make you look like you're after money, you're greedy. Yet you're just demanding what's yours, Esther. Have you ever been in that situation, first of all?
Not in that sense. It's just that I felt like it was so offensive. There's this company that approached me, and I don't think they knew what they were actually saying, but they told me, so our budget is fast spent, like we've used it on so many things, and we just had like some pocket change. And I was like, no, this is a whole job. You can't say, it's like going to the hospital and saying, you know, I don't have a budget, but this is what I have.
And that's a problem for creatives, by the way.
Exactly, yeah. So
because we can find budget for food, budget for transport, budget for
Everything
what,
else.
but when it comes to budget for the photographer,
Yeah.
like, can't you just do it? We'll mention you on Instagram.
the worst. Yeah, it's degrading, to be honest.
I'll tell you something. You see, this is what I believe, and I want everyone to understand that before people take their phone and make that call, hi Arita, I want to believe you know what you're looking for. That's how I like to.
Yeah.
These days, I don't spend time on negotiating things on how much do you take. I will even ask them, who gave you my number? You should have done your check to know who you're calling. So when I mention my money or what I take, stop arguing like, why do you take so much? I've ever asked money and someone said, that's more than my salary. I said, that's not my problem. That's what I take. You understand? So I think one of the things I want to tell Esther and everyone else who gets engaged into this kind of jobs, once you know your value, once you know your worth, it gives you some confidence to ask for what you think you deserve. All right? So that, and people are very careful. These organizations that are calling you, don't want to spend money. Every company wants to save a coin.
Even the most profitable ones.
Of course, let me not mention, even the most profitable ones. The thing is, they are giving you latitude to say what you think, because as you mention money, they're also looking at how you value yourself. Because money is everything. Money, you know, most people think money is not everything. How you talk about money really helps us to know what you think about yourself.
But the problem, let me just interrupt you, Alfred. The problem with that is very many people find it very hard to communicate that value. Yes, you know this is what you're worth. But going there to say, I want 500,000 shillings, most people actually, and it's a very big mistake, is like, can't they just see that I normally do a good job? I take good pictures. Can't they just see and say that they'll pay me 100,000?
I honestly think it's stigma. Like it's what we are used to. We're used to the company will bargain. So you just have that. I think it's so subconscious, by the way, the fact that we can't communicate. We've been taught to not be so confident about our value, such that when it gets to such conversations, we're not really sure. We are scared. We don't know what's really how to present it, like as you were saying.
Yeah.
And we're just fearing that I might quote this and I believe I'm this, but they don't think I am this.
Another foolish thing, by the way, I'm going to call it foolish even on there, is you find yourself, there's something called imposter syndrome. So when you're about to ask for 500,000 shillings, you think, maybe I'm not that
You end up
good.
saying 200.
Maybe I'm not that good, by the way.
I
Maybe
know.
I was just lucky.
Yeah, it happens a lot, by the way, especially for creatives. Because, you know, for all other professions, you know, doctors get this, and accountants, and, you know, all
And
those.
it's written,
But for
it's
creatives,
defined.
yeah, there's nothing like that. For creatives, MCs, motivational speakers, there's no like standard that rate. This is what these people get. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I would say something. You know, Esther, when you talk about stigma, or you feel like this question is nagging, why do they have to keep asking how much I deserve? I'll tell you, and that's why we are discussing this. Understanding your worth. Nothing liberates you more than understanding. So discussing about man and how they feel is their problem. How they feel. Don't call it a stigma. It's no stigma.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, you know, let me tell you something. Spending an entire day to make people's guests happy and excited. You're the MC out there. You're the speaker. You made everyone say, "Wow, this is the thing." You know, you have offered some consultancy.
You made men
Don't
dance,
feel
and
shy
men don't
for
dance.
what. Yeah, you understand. So what I think I want to say is, Esther, we must never apologize for what we are. And that's the same problem we have even in relationships. You know you don't deserve this, but you're being treated so badly, so unfairly, but you say, anyway, I want to stay because, you know, if I leave, I may never get another one like this. Once you know your value, you can walk away from things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Once you know your value, you can state what your opinion is. You don't depend on people's opinions, and not because you want to be proud. You need to guard that, but because of what you think you bring. For example, I'll give you an example about what I do. I do capacity building. I do trainings. I do team building. So when they call me, how much are you getting? Usually, I'll begin by giving some examples. Say, companies of your level, we take 250. You see what I've already done?
Yeah.
Then they will ask a question like, which companies have you worked for? Then I say, well, I'm going to send you the email, but I'll mention a few of them.
And the challenge with that sometimes is the second myth that I wanted to mention is they say, because you mentioned that these companies, even the most profitable ones, are after making a profit. Yeah. So if they can get you for the lowest, they will take you for that amount.
Yeah.
So your foolishness is going there and saying, oh, okay, maybe I can take this amount because now they are struggling. But the next time when they don't have a budget issue, maybe they will increase.
You must never say that.
Never.
You should never say that. What you can only say is, well, the only reason I may want to take this job is because of the name the company has.
Yeah.
You see. And I'm sure, if you love what I do, and I'm sure you will love it, probably you guys I'm sure you're going to refer me to some places. So that's why I may want to take this, but that's not what I take most of in this kind of...
And that thing that you're doing, the other problem with the valuation and defining the value is how we look at it. People look at it in a very, I would call it in Swahili, madharau.
Yeah.
Like, come on. So let's say Esther here is a content creator. She's just supposed to market this glass. Maybe she's either supposed to create a video drinking water from this glass or take a picture holding this glass. And most likely what we think about Esther is sinapiga tu picha,
Sinachukua tu kamera na kuwasha tu. Simfinya record.
Yeah.
They don't think about lighting. They don't think about the little things. For example, the makeup I'll use that day.
The outfit, my God.
And I need to eat that day. I need strength. Like, I'm not gonna... So many things come into... Like, it's not just straightforward, I'll press record. There's so many behind the scenes that goes into content creation.
Is that the reason why people say, I mean, if it's press record, why don't you just do it?
I know. By the way, that's what I usually do. Like, if someone says, see, it's something real quick, so I'm okay, then do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Esther, do you allow me to give you a small, very quick story about how to understand the value? You have heard of this ship that got stuck at the ocean somewhere in the Caribbean, and they looked for the best mechanics. They didn't get one. So a guy was flown from Italy to come in because he was known as a very good mechanic. Yeah. So he comes around, walks around the whole thing for hours. He observes it and does everything. He looks at it, and people are wondering. And it was a cruise, actually. Yeah. People are packed and almost broken down, and they are feeling disappointed. So they say he comes and he looks at everything around, and then he goes to one particular knob. Then he knocks it. Then he looks at another and he tightens it. Then he says, now, okay, you guys can go.
Oh, the ship is good now?
It's good to go. And then now he says, okay. Everyone says, like, yeah, this is the guy we needed. Then they ask him, how much do you want to be paid? He said, 2 million.
Oh.
Then they say, just for touching? He said, no.
Because you've literally, you
didn't do anything. You just touch. Say, yeah, 1.8 is for understanding the problem.
200 is for
200 is for touching.
Knowing where to hit.
That is now what it means to understand your value. Don't apologize for it. Don't even explain, like, makeup and, I'll bring my friend. Don't do that. You want me, I know how to do my thing.
Okay.
When you call me, I'm coming with everything to make you happy. The big point here is I'm going to deliver. What do you need? I'm going to actually over-deliver, all right? So don't ask me, don't say, only 20 minutes, only pressing the camera. Don't ask me what I do, because before you call me, you knew you needed someone. Okay. And if you had someone else, you would definitely have called, for those guys.
Let's talk about the confidence now, because, well, I know it's 500 million. Yeah. I want to say 500,000 shillings. I walk into that office, but the way my voice sounds, it doesn't sound like 500. It sounds like 200.
That's true.
The voice, the confidence in your voice as you say 500,000 sounds like 160.
That's true. And that's why, one of the things why I tell people you need a persuasion coach. A persuasion coach helps you to know some of these things. What should be your voice when you're saying certain things? Where should your eyes, the eye read moment, when you're looking at someone. If you want to say, okay, do you have 500,000? If your eyes will be shaking, they will know, you don't believe it. But then people know what you deserve. There are those guys who will tell you, well, partner, you just come, we're paying you 50. That's what we have. But how much do you earn? And because they have also done they have heard about what you get elsewhere. You need to learn to be confident. And you need to learn on how to communicate your value. You need to learn to know how to talk to people about money. These things are learned. These are skills that are learned. No one is born knowing. I will tell you my first years of negotiating money, I'll receive a call when I'm very broke, and I say, whatever it will take. This one I cannot decline. And they will say, how much? The moment you say, is it okay? You give me fuel 20 and maybe 30 for my 1 hour. And then they say, hey, that's too much. We only have 20 for this budget. Or we call someone else and you say, do I leave this?
Yeah. And actually, Esther will tell you that there's that problem of be sure we are negotiating with other people. And they tell you that so that you usikwe kichwa ngumu.
Actually, got someone like that. There's someone who came with a proposal and they wanted me to join their platform. They were starting a platform.
Yeah.
And they told me, so and so is here, so and so is here. And I knew, no, I'm not going to benefit from this because I did my research.
Yeah.
And so that, first of all, the format they wanted the videos in, I was not able to give them that.
Yeah.
And that's the content I focus on. And that's the content that actually gives me a lot of, like, people know me from.
Yeah.
So I just told them that's not gonna work, even if so and so is on it, it just won't work. And even when they tell me, I've never gotten that one for what we are negotiating with so and so.
If you are an MC, they tell you, okay, we want you to come and moderate the session. It's okay, I want to be paid this amount. Okay. But even as we do that, just know that we are also negotiating with Alfred and Esther.
Usually, that particular line there is meant to make you relax most times. You know, they will tell you, you know what, okay, we thought you come, but then let's engage one, so we had even talked.
Even if they haven't.
They haven't. That is a way of trying to make you say, okay, then if that's the case, then you jump into it. The fact that someone has called you from that company, they know there's something you do right. And that don't forget that, be conscious about that all the time.
If they wanted the other guy, they would have gone for
called. And of course you need to be very respectful how you communicate. You don't show arrogance in any way. Say, all right, then if you can do a good job, I've no problem. But you can be sure that what I offer is unmatched. Always defend what you do. Don't even talk about the other guy and say, that guy doesn't know. A friend of mine engaged him and he did a bad job. Don't talk about people. Just say, all right, you can get anyone else you want, but you can be sure you lose something else that I bring. Because everywhere I've been, people say this is the guy.
Okay, and that's important because Esther, there's a way in which you can you can be really pissed off by the way the amount that people quote or the way they treat you. But he has raised a very valid point about doing what we call respectfully, like rejecting this offer respectfully. So how do I say no respectfully?
Without burning bridges.
Yes, so that next time they can still call you. Let me read this one. It says, thank you so much for considering me. Please see here a link for the services and the price packages that I offer. Let me know if you have any questions. The next one says, this one is now the problem where you're finding it very hard to ask how much they're going to pay you. This sounds like a great opportunity. Thank you for thinking about me. Are you able to confirm if this is a paid opportunity? And I think the last one, I appreciate you thinking of me for this opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm unable to take any unpaid projects at the moment, but I will circle back if that changes.
Perfect.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
You see why that is very important? These guys that I've called you for a job have connections all over the place. Like I work for schools. Schools are very connected. If you show any sense of arrogance and of boasting, they will share the same. You need to know how to decline something in a very good manner, in an honorable way. Say, thank you for considering me and thank you for even reaching out. But I'm sorry, I'll be busy. Sometimes the best way to decline things that you think are not worth is say, I'm engaged on that particular day. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's the easiest non-confrontational.
Which date again? I'm sorry, it's not going to be possible. And sometimes, I think bargaining and negotiating grows with time. Like now, one of the things for me, and those who are listening, those who have followed me know, when you call me, the first thing is the date. It's critical for me. Don't mention the money. It's a date because my diary is booked, fully booked. If I tell you this date is available, then let's begin discussing. For me, we talk in terms of a date. When I block a date, it means something. You get? And you need to know that your value for a day, by the way, so that you can communicate that. Say, this date, for me, is not about how much first. Ask whether I'm available. So if I find we are discussing so much about this, how much we have, say, well, that date I had another commitment.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can talk to them again and see if they allow me, then I'll get back to you. You get?
Esther, let me just allow you to comment something very quickly before we close the conversation about how the underpricing that is there in the market. So there's an issue of being young. Yeah. You are asking for $1 million shillings, but they look at you and you're a 21-year-old.
Ask for $1 million.
Oh, come on, 1 million shillings. No. But if someone else who's just 2 years older than you, but they're offering literally the same service asked for the amount, they'll be paid.
That's a question I want to ask.
Yes, and then the last one for you now, this one is for you about gender. So you find Alfred here will be paid 500,000 shillings, but because it's a girl and it's Esther, no, I can pay 400.
For that one, let me say I'm not sure, but I believe it's because generally women, we underquote ourselves, we undervalue ourselves. Because for men, even especially in this content creation industry, I forever had now like people like so-and-so, let me just say like Seth Gore or George Kimani, they go out there and they quote and they stand by whatever they have quoted. But as a woman, I don't know who did this to us. I don't know who started this thing that we go out there and we really devalue ourselves because we feel like we can't deliver as men deliver. And personally, I stopped. I do my research. In fact, if it's asking for rate cards, I go ask I ask men. And I ask, oh, you value yourself at this. You have these followers. Now, of course, I don't just assume that now I'll value myself like this. I also look at things like, they have this certain amount of followers. I have less followers. So, of course, I can value myself at the same. But what do I offer in terms of creativity, in terms of
uniqueness?
Just uniqueness and all that. And as a woman, I don't think I undervalue myself, and I don't think I underquote
I want you to comment very quickly because I have another question for you on the issue of a young person delivering excellent service, but because you're young, you're discriminated.
You know, I almost feel like sharing a scripture that says, Paul tells Timothy, he says, never allow anyone to despise you or to look down upon you, to undervalue you because you are young. I'll tell you, there's so many young people out there today who are earning a lot of money because they have known who they are. But I'll tell you, we still are evolving as a people to respect age. And I'll tell you something about self-worth. Self-worth has nothing to do with the material you have or your wealth that you've accumulated, the age, your experience, in terms of the knowledge and all the things you do. So age should not count. But I'll tell you what I tell young people. If people bring you to a point where they tell you you are young, you can take $1 million. Try to break down what you're going to do for them. For example, some of the best software developers we have right now are young people. Who have gone to... I met a young man the other day on Victor and he told me, he developed a program for a company, an agricultural company, and they paid him $1 million. In fact, they're now calling for another. They're saying, how much? So these are isolated cases. I don't even say at all women. I have met women who really know how to place their value on the table, and they say, this is what we take, or you leave it.
All right. Can you guys believe we've run out of time? We can't even sample the feedback and take the phone calls. But I have one burning question that we have to take before we wrap up the conversation. And this Polycarp is asking, as an employer, do I have the right to reduce my employee's salary if it doesn't commensurate with the work? I think that's very valid because we keep talking about people who do more work, but they're not compensated with the work that they give. So how about someone who's doing less?
Oh, I like that. That's a very nice twist. I think what most companies do, if they find you're not adding value, they will ask you if you don't improve. That's why we have performance contracts. So if you don't deliver, they allow you to go look for your job elsewhere, which is within their they're allowed to do that. So, but I will take the same model. If I have an organization and I have guys who want to push for more, but they're not delivering, I'll say, hey guys, some of you, from the way you have been behaving lately, I'm forced to reduce if you don't.
And of course, you run the risk of being taken to court. But we have to wrap up these conversations. Good people, in 30 seconds, your closing remarks.
I just tell people what you have said mostly, like believe in yourself. That is the most important thing. Believe in yourself, know yourself, be self-aware, and don't devalue yourself. Like self-awareness, that's where it starts actually. Where once you're self-aware, everything else falls into place.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Alfred?
What the market is paying is not how beautiful you are or how eloquent you are, but the value you bring.
Yeah.
So invest in yourself, develop more value. So when you come to negotiate,
Yeah.
you're not struggling because you understand.
Okay.
I keep saying, if you want to earn more, learn more.
Okay.
Learn more, build yourself, spend more time in increasing your worth so that you don't struggle.
Okay. Before you forget, I think you had some gifts.
I had
for
a
us?
small gift for you. I'm
Yeah.
another of great books. One of them is Change is Possible. This is a gift to you, Victor. Discover
Yes,
6
it's not going
essentials
overload.
of personal change. This is a very great book.
Just
This-
hold it properly.
yeah, this is called Change is Possible. One of my best books. I want to give you as a gift. The other one is called A to Z Secrets of High Achievers. I did this book in 2009. Touched so many thousands of people in this country. I want to give it to you as well. And they are out there in the market. People can get them.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Wonderful. We have been talking about knowing your worth. I hope we have helped you understand and define your worth when you're negotiating for a business deal and for your salary increment or as for a salary when you're taking a new job. I hope this conversation has helped you, of course, improve on that, and also the confidence when you are communicating that value. Many thanks to my guest this morning, Alfred Arwit, as you've seen with the books. He's an author, he's a motivational speaker, and he's a personal coach. Also, many thanks to studio, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, Esther Kazungu, a digital content creator. Good to see you again. We have to wrap the conversation. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now. We'll see you again tomorrow.